Uh-oh. I wish I had $1 million. Hot dog!
Hello and welcome back to another vintage-inspired video. Today's video is going to be something be part 2 to the last video I posted about It's a Wonderful Life filming locations. This is going to be a tribute to some of those in the cast as we visit their final resting spot and pay our respects. Though I don't want this to be a sad video, I'm viewing it as a remembrance to them and their career that has brought joy to many. This will not be a comprehensive venture. We're going to do our best to pay respects to as many as we can. The first stop on our tour brings us to Chatsworth, California to visit the final resting spot of Gloria Graham, who played Violet in the film. She was born November 28, 1923 in Los Angeles. She was an unknown when Frank Capra cast her in the role, and she's an interesting woman, and we won't have time to touch on her entire life today, but she started her career in theater and made her first film for MGM in 1944. Post It's a Wonderful Life, she went on to be quite the force in noir films. She starred with my favorite, besides Jimmy Stewart, of course, Humphrey Bogart, in a film called In a Lonely Place. And she also won the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress for her work in The Bad and the Beautiful, a film she only appeared in for a little over 9 minutes, which meant she held the record for the shortest performance to ever win an Oscar until 1976. She suffered from insecurities about her appearance, particularly her upper lip, which resulted in her having multiple cosmetic procedures done, which left her with nerve damage.
This old thing? Well, I only wear it when I don't care how I look.
She also had quite the scandalous love life, but we'll save that for a different video.
George, I changed my mind.
I'd also be remiss if I did not mention this cemetery is also where you will find Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers. This is the grave of Lillian Randolph, who played Annie in the film. She was born December 14th, and everything I saw online said 1898, but her headstone says 1914. She was a woman of many talents, from singing to acting. She was a veteran of radio, film, and television in a career that spanned about 5 decades and over 75 projects. I just want to read what's written here because it's really quite beautiful. Beloved wife and mother, an inspiration to the young actors and actresses. Hers was a life of giving through love, thought, and deed.
Boys and girls and music. Why do they need gin?
She's buried here next to her sister, who was also an actress. Role limitations for African Americans at the time led to her taking on roles that often had a negative stereotype associated with them, these mainly being servant-type roles to white families. She received criticism for some of the roles she took, which she rebuked, reasoning these roles themselves would not be discontinued, but the ethnicity of those in them would change if she or others were to stop taking them. She fought to protect these roles, believing that their availability to her and other African American performers of the day was important. She definitely deserved better, but we can say she did help pioneer the way for those who came after her. What are you eating, friend? This is a cemetery that is brimming with notable names of old Hollywood's past, from Judy Garland to Cecil B. DeMille to Douglas Fairbanks Jr. It even butts right up against Paramount sound stages. But today, here at Hollywood Forever Cemetery, we're here to visit just one person. This is the grave of Carl Switzer. Maybe best known as Alfalfa from Our Gang, he was born August 7, 1927 in Paris, Illinois. He was a man of various occupations and found finding work difficult after leaving Our Gang.
Hey, this is my band.
Oh, why don't you stop annoying me?
Well, I'm sorry. Hey.
For his role as Alfalfa, he was basically discovered while on a studio tour at Hal Roach's studios. He appeared with Jimmy Stewart in another film in 1948 called On Our Merry Way. Since we're talking Christmas movies, I should mention his photo was used as the Haynes sisters' brother, aka the dog-faced boy, in White Christmas. His death was tragic and is still shrouded in mystery as to how it all actually unfolded, but the abridged version is that he was shot by a business partner over $50 reward money resulting from losing, then later recovering, the man's dog he was training. We find ourselves now at Mary Bailey, aka Donna Reed's final resting spot. She was born January 27th, 1921 in Denison, Iowa, and she had a career that spanned more than 40 years. She grew up a farm girl with aspirations of becoming a teacher, and when she found she was unable to pay for college, she moved to Los Angeles to attend LA City College and stay with her aunt. And during this time, for fun, she appeared in plays and was offered a screen test and eventually signed with MGM. She was not Frank Capra's first choice. He offered the role to 5 other actresses, all of whom said no, before landing on the then relative unknown Donna Reed.
Hello. You look at me as if you didn't know me.
Well, I don't.
You pass me on the street almost every day.
Me? Ah, that was a little girl named Mary Hatch. That wasn't you.
Though she was only 24 at the time of filming, she had appeared without much fanfare in nearly 24 MGM films by this point. She was quoted as saying about It's a Wonderful Life that it was the most difficult film I ever did. No director demanded so much of me. Later, she won the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress for her role in From Here to Eternity, a film that Sinatra won an Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor, very famously. And later, she starred in her own very successful television show. I wanted to just point out one thing here. You see her last husband's name on the headstone. She passed away almost 17 years before he did. And at the time of her death, his name was included without the death year, of course. Later, he ended up being buried at West Point. This is the grave of Mr. Hee-Haw himself, Sam Wainwright. His real name is Frank Albertson, and he was born February 2nd, 1909 in Fergus Falls, Minnesota. His early career saw him in singing and dancing parts, and as he aged, he moved from featured roles to more supporting and character types. During his career, he made well over 100 appearances.
Good old George, he's always making a speech.
And something I didn't notice until long after I saw both films is that he is also the wealthy rancher who provides Janet Leigh with the $40,000 in Psycho. I feel silly because I didn't even recognize him between the two films until I later was just looking him up and realized the connection. Inside of that mausoleum, you will also find the final resting spot of John Candy, as well as Fred MacMurray, and I have a video about Mr. MacMurray coming soon. Fun fact, I know the grandson of Virginia Patton. She played Harry's wife in the film, and I'd known him for a little bit before I found this out, and when it just casually came out one day, I sort of lost it. And he told me he would ask her to sign some things for me, but sadly that never happened, and she passed away about the next year, I think. We're now at Forest Lawn, Glendale, and I wanted to show you a couple people inside of the Great Mausoleum, but we're not going to be able to go inside. If we could, we would have found Clarence himself, Mr. Henry Travers, and Miss 1750, Ellen Corby. But I'm loving the moodiness, though, of this view.
That's right. That's right. Attaboy, Clarence.
Last but certainly not least, we have George Bailey, Mr. Jimmy Stewart, born May 20th, 1908 in Indiana, Pennsylvania. His career spanned 6 decades. He starred in about 80 films in addition to his military service during World War II. He appeared in numerous classics of the old Hollywood era, 3 of those, including It's a Wonderful Life with director Frank Capra, but also a few very memorable films with Alfred Hitchcock. There was only one man Capra considered when he started the project, and that was Jimmy Stewart. Capra reached out to Jimmy's agent, who advised Stewart not to take the part because the plot was too confusing. Capra convinced his agent to set up a meeting where Capra enthusiastically pitched Jimmy directly. The meeting wasn't entirely smooth sailing, but at the end, even though still confused as to what the plot was, Jimmy accepted the role. This was Stewart's first role back after World War II. It had been a year since he returned, and he was free of his exclusive MGM contract. He entered into the film feeling insecure, as though the industry had passed him by. The lukewarm reception to the film left him disappointed, especially because he put a lot of pressure on himself to do his very best for Capra, who had put up a lot of his own money under his newly formed production company.
Yay! Hello, Bedford Falls! Merry Christmas! Merry Christmas!
Luckily, Jimmy lived long enough to see the resurgence and proper love this film received starting around the 1970s due to syndication and a lapsed copyright. All right, that does it for today's video. Thank you so much for coming along with me on this small tribute video for the film It's a Wonderful Life, one of my personal favorites. And I thought it would be a fitting close to say goodbye here atop this hill next to Jimmy Stewart's final resting spot. Until that next video, I am wishing you a super swell day, and I will see you then. Bye.